Welcome to the Instigator Hour. I'm your host, Ren Werner. With us today is Josh Pettinger. Am I saying this right?
Pettinger.
Pettinger. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm bad with names, but we got it. And owner, operator, head lead engineer of Wicked Squid Studios in Rochester, New York. Thank you for being with us. This is the first time we've actually digitally met. But I did watch your TED Talk that came out like a year or two ago, which was wonderful. It basically condensed my whole audio school 2 years into like a 15-minute video, so thanks. But awesome. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, it seems kind of serendipitous, you know, like we like we were just talking about the Friday music review thing is relatively new. We've been doing it for a while as a which we can talk about that. But it's funny because I had just found you guys for, you know, what Sons
from
of
our
Luther.
submission. We did submit to you. We submitted to the review. Yeah.
No, but like literally like probably the week, 2 weeks before. And I don't know, you know, I'll go through my thing that I love doing is just finding show flyers, and I'll just honestly, I usually look at the bands at the bottom of the list, you know, headline, whatever, and I'll go down the rabbit hole and just see, you know, new Instagram accounts that have like 200 followers and like
no, you're scouring. That's good. You're a digger. I dig that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just cool. You know, you can see what's happening that way. I feel it's like one of the most effective ways to just see what's new.
Yeah, that's smart.
I don't know how, but like you guys came on my radar, and I don't know, whoever does your guys' graphic design, I was like, wow, these guys are like doing some shit, you know? Because like for me, that's one of the biggest things. Like, I've seen so many fucking bands that, like, have no concept of branding and no concept of building consistency within a brand. And, you know, and me being a small business owner, like, I'm obsessed with that kind of shit. I think it's so interesting, you know?
Yeah,
so
it's nice to hear all of that, because that means that my marketing strategy is working.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to nerd out, and I was... funny, I was talking with my therapist about this, about my feelings about marketing as an artist, because I come from the old school, and this is the reference I used with my therapist, was Bill Hicks, whose bit about marketing is like, hey, anyone in the crowd, you into marketing? Okay, go kill yourself. And I'm not kidding. I know you think this is a bit, but I'm serious. You put $1 on everything, you ruin everything. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, Bill, he's going after that angry dollar. No, I'm not. I'm not. This is not a joke. And so that's been kind of my philosophy the whole time. But I think you put enough of your soul and energy into these recordings, and you release them, and they don't do anything but circulate through the few, you know, indie friends that you have in the scene. It's like, well, how do I break through? And so I actually stumbled upon Jesse Cannon and Musicology on YouTube. And he's doing some really, really good stuff, as well as this dude on TikTok who goes by Bacon Bits, which sounds, he's kind of a metal dude, and he does like Facebook ad type marketing stuff. But anyway, I find the whole indie marketing world really fascinating, because it's like the Wild West right now, especially with TikTok. So as a small business owner and like a studio owner, I mean, you're on top of all of that, and so you get that. And I don't know, I'm happy our paths digitally crossed, and we're here now. But yeah, and it was because of the Wicked Squid review for you, which was great, and I took a lot of insight from your guys' analysis of our song. So thank you.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think, like I said, it's just cool to see. I love seeing bands that are like actually going for it, because like, I don't know, man, I feel like that's the thing, and I'm sure we'll dive into this, but like that's my one thing with the Rochester scene is like there are little pockets of people who are really going for it, really doing the thing, and then kind of the vast majority of bands is just like there's no. No, I don't want to say like there's no ambition to go outside Rochester or what it is, but like there's just no thinking outside of the bubble of the microcosm that is, you know, Rochester. And I don't know. Like I've worked in, you know, like Boston a little bit. I've done a little bit of work in New York. I was based in Connecticut for a while, and it's like the bands in those fucking markets are hungry, dude. Like they're going for it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, where is that fucking get up and go in Rochester? You know,
that
like,
point. Well, let me see if I can answer that a little bit. But also, we talked about this a little bit in the pre-interview. Was so I live 10 minutes outside of Rochester, but all of my music friends are Buffalo. That's where we've played primarily. And that's not to say that I haven't really tried to dig into the Rochester music scene. Our playlist is very reflective of this. But what I was telling you before was that from my perception, it seems like there's definitely the cool kids. There's Joywave, there's Cops, and the demos, and like that clique, which I don't even mean to say clique because that sounds derogatory, but I mean just like they're a scene, they're a thing, a group that are working with one another. But I love what they're doing. They're doing this, like, they're thinking outside of the box, to your point. Like, and they're doing national things, doing big tours and stuff. And then from there, the tiers going down as far as, like, I guess size. I don't know. I don't even mean to hierarchy them, but basically the scene, I think, looks healthy. Again, you've got Michaela Davis and Ben Morey and the Eyes and like that group. You know, Total Yippies, which is another kind of indie band that, and I don't know. It's in the playlist, but I think it's interesting because I have a couple touchstones of people that I can have helped me navigate it or introduce me, like Dave Drago at 1809. And yeah, I don't know. I just find it fascinating because there's so much good music and so many talented players, especially with like Eastman. I feel like that's got to have a little bit of an influence. Like there is especially on like the jazz vibe and everything too. So I don't know. I feel like I should know more. And I felt like I was trying to get in more with Rochester, and then the pandemic happened. So here we are.
Yeah, I mean, like, one for me, another one they fucking hustle like motherfuckers is King Buffalo.
Okay, see, I didn't even know that. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, they're fucking killing it. Yeah, you know, there's the Cool Kids Club. I mean, and there's several pockets of cool kids in Rochester that, you know, since I was a teenager, like, you know, back when I was a kid, and it's still a thing now, but like rockcore was the thing, you know, and you know, everybody wanted to play with UV Rays and bands like that, and it was sick. It was cool stuff, but it was very exclusive. Like, if you weren't from the group of kids, you know, and they're all adults now and growing up and doing their thing, and they're still doing music, and it's still very cliquey, and it's like, I've never been down for that kind of shit. Like, I just, on a personal level, it's like, fucking eat it. Like, I don't give a shit, you know? Right. It's like, we're all just doing our thing. Like, I don't cool guy you at the bar. Like, no need for you to do.
To be honest, it's I don't even care if we're talking about negative experiences at the bar. The idea of being in a bar right now, it's been years for me. So I just nostalgic for the bar. No, truly, I've been talking with many people about that recently, about like, we just miss being out. And I know I have a child who is under vaccination age, so that's just the protocol we've been going by. And I'm fine with holding off. And I think the goalpost right now is spring. We might get that vaccine for him, and then we might be cleared to go do things in public again. But yeah, as far as scene is concerned, I think what you were kind of talking about before was like visual aesthetic and having like a strong visual presence to capture your attention, and then backing it up with like the goods, you know, is like having the music. So I know Joywave has a new album coming out, I think this upcoming week. I know the single is really good. It's called Buy American, and they're really smart. And I remember like talking about old scene days. Like, I hate to call out the old Hoodies days, but when they were previously the Hoodies, I mean, I remember playing Main Street Coffee with them. And like, I don't know, it is funny when you get into your 30s and you're into dad bands and you look around and you purvey the landscape and see what's out there. And it's like, I'm trying my best to own our dad rock vibes at this point. Like, it's cool.
Yeah. You know, you guys write really catchy shit. You know, it's like, you know, I think it's got some serious appeal. I mean, especially like, I think something like sync placement.
Ooh, yeah. Pitch us to your music supervisor friends.
Right. That out. But yeah, man, I don't know. It is an interesting scene. You know, like, where we fall into it, I think is an interesting.
we're at different angles on it, you know. It is interesting.
Yeah, you know, like we're definitely like me personally, I'm very into like the weird arty prog shit that like no one fucking listens to, but it's thing, you know. So we've done a handful of bands like that. But we're honestly like our kind of whole philosophy is like we don't want to be like the cool kids studio. Like we want to be the place that it's like, yo, if you're fucking, you know, like we had this crazy drummer in
Toussaint. Is that his name?
His brother Keenan.
Oh, okay, yeah, they're great. They're incredible.
Yeah, so like he was doing a playthrough video. A few playthrough videos at the shop this past weekend. I mean, just nasty fucking musician.
I could watch him play all day, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I saw that on your feed.
Yeah, you know, so guys like him, guys like in the band Aku, Marco and Sage, and Ian is actually one of my engineers at the shop. Just monster players, like really nasty players. But then we do everything all the way down to like kids that are like just getting, you know, having their first recording site. It's like
super special, like that. And I'm so happy that someone like you is doing that, because those moments are so. I mean, I think back to my teenage years of starting getting in the studio and the whole vibe of going to the studio. This is our one moment, you know, to like get it right. But that pressure can very easily turn into anxiety and bad vibes. And to have someone like you who's so caring about it, like, again, I pulled this really from your TED Talk, because you were able to basically teach a crowd of normies about like EQ and stuff and like make it relatable. And I was like, man, like that's exactly who you want if that's your first time in the studio. Kind of like, you know, hold your hand a little bit and like just be cool. Like, no, there's no ego, there's no. And like that's the tricky thing when it comes to, I guess that's the juxtaposition in our conversation is, yeah, you want to have your performance chops, you want to have the songs, but then you also have to have some type of image to break through and like brand and kind of put a title or face on it, you know? And I think, you know, that's the kind of anomaly of what makes a good band or special track or artist, you know, is like if they have that je ne sais quoi, if you will, you know what I mean? Like, and that you could call that cool, a certain cool factor, I guess, but I don't know, it is kind of elusive, and it's fun to kind of be in these waters because it is so dense. And I think you could make maybe a pessimistic thing that is saturated. It's too many musicians, but I like to look at it. I mean, I'm kind of an eternal optimist, where I think it's great. I mean, everyone's got access to a studio in their laptop now, so that's a starting off point that we didn't have as kids, you know. Right, yeah. I mean, it's crazy what people have access to, you know. I mean, on the business side, though, I will say it puts strain on folks who are running commercial shops. Oh, for sure.
You know, so that's an interesting kind of situation. I mean, I think shops like ours are always going to kind of be a must, because there are always going to be artists out there that, you know, go down the rabbit hole for a few months, realize, fuck, like, there's no way, I can't wrap my head around this shit, you know. That's always going to exist. I mean, there's always a need for expertise and people who have, you know, sunk gobs of fucking money, time.
Well, and that's the thing, man, is like, that's the learning curve, right? It's like, it took me going to audio engineering school, pursuing a career in post-production, hustling, doing a bunch of stuff to realize I don't want to do that as my day job. Because then I just want to write music, and like I love the logistics of production and like taking it from stage to stage, from like, you know, verse, chorus, demo to completed song and release, and then figuring out the artwork and the release strategy. And to figure out what role suits you best, and like figuring out your role within your group or your crew or whatever, I think it's really important. And of course, there's always going to be a place for studios like yours who are quality service oriented, you know, studios. All of your dudes, I'm following Ian now after your review session. All you guys are great, and it was really cool. It actually gave a lonely, isolated old man like me some comfort tuning into your broadcast, because it was like, oh, it's like we're hanging out. We're all hanging out in the studio listening to stuff. This is great. And like critiquing, yay, opinions are allowed, yay. Because that was something that I had to learn when going into the studio world, was like, if you're a base level engineer, you don't go into the studio with your opinions.
Right.
You keep your mouth shut. You don't ruin the vibe. You don't put anyone out. You just do as you're told. You set up that mic. You wrap that cable the right way, or you get out. You know. And like I will always love that old school studio rap mentality. And, it's studios like yours that seem to be keeping that whole vibe well and alive. So thank you.
Yeah. I mean, that for me, man, and it's so funny that well, it's not funny, but it's interesting that we're having this conversation right now, because I was steeped in that, you know, like I worked at a place called Big Blue Meanie down in Jersey City.
Oh, okay.
So if you're familiar with Big Blue North out in Utica,
okay.
Big Blue Meanie was the original studio in Jersey City that was run by Tim Gillis. So if you were ever on, you know, what do they call it now? Gear something. It used to be Gear Sluts.
Yeah. That name aged well.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, that forum and other forums, there was a guy that hung out on there called Slipper Man, and that was my boss.
All right.
If you ever read any of his stuff, I mean, he for me, he was my fucking idol, and he actually just passed away a couple weeks ago.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, really, it's brutal. But yeah, you know, like our place was founded on kind of those principles of hard work and brutal honesty, and building a community of engineers. And that's when I kind of moved back to Rochester. That's what I set out to do. And, you know, that's why, like, we're the only place that takes on interns, you know, like
it's tough. It's tough to bring in people, you know what I mean? You got to have the right environment for that. And it's, you know, it's tough times. Everyone's scraping by, you know? Yeah.
It's a commitment. And we certainly cannot offer internships like we used to, just because, you know, we got a lot of shit going on at this point, and I think there's a huge learning curve when you take on interns. And you know, it's like, I don't know how many kids have gone through a 4-year degree program and they don't know shit about fucking audio, you know. But you know, for me as a shop owner, like, it's really important to pass that torch wherever we can. And honestly, like, my guys Chris and Ian, the reason why they're on staff, and now Madeline, who's doing some social media and some other stuff for me, they all interned with me and busted their fucking ass. I mean, Chris has been with me for 6 years now, and his understanding of audio has just gone through the fucking roof, you know. And same with Ian, who's been with me for 3 or 4 years now, you know, and they've taught me about all kinds of crazy shit, you know.
I think I even mentioned it in the live stream, was that a good engineer will never stop learning. Like, they don't want to stop learning. Like, that's the whole point. Yeah. Like, you got to keep going.
Yeah, it's the pursuit, man. I mean, that's the shit that, and it's funny because it's like I talk to interns. I'll have these meetings, or I'll have concerned parents come in and they'll sit down and do a tour consult with their kid and be like, is this a good move? Like, and I'm like, do you fucking love it? Like, do you want to do nothing else with your life? Because that's where you need to be at. And if you're not there, then don't fucking even try. Oof. Don't even.
That's real. That's real.
Yeah.
That's the real deal.
Yeah. So there's no point in sugarcoating it. So
I love it. I love this brutal honesty. It's good.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I came up. I mean, you know, my boss at Big Blue was a fucking maniac, you know, and but he ran his shop with a lot of love and a lot of you know, compassion, and really tried to meet people where they were at, and you know, but he expected a lot of you, you know. It's like with my guys, it's like there are standards and processes that we've put together for the business so that the business can run effectively. And, we're all on the same page that those rules need to be followed so that we can do what we got to do,
Yeah, man.
So yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of
I love hearing this. It's really nice to get your take on everything. Thank you so much for being with us. I know you have an 8-month-old. I get the dad vibes, and I get how hard it is to carve out time for anything, let alone extracurriculars. Really nice to meet you. Keep up all the amazing work. Getting this staff together, everything that's going on over there. There's also I guess rehearsal rental kind of packages going on too.
Yeah. So man, it's crazy because like COVID happened, and
is there a new different protocol now or what?
Well, no, not even. So like when COVID shut everything down, myself and Chris and Ian and our guy Terry, who used to work with us, and then a couple other friends, we all lived at the shop still together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We lived together for years. And so when COVID shut everything down, we had all this time. Like there wasn't, there were other shops in town that were taking on clients still, and we're like, we're not going to risk it, We had someone that we lived with that was high risk, and we were like, we can't,
Safe than sorry.
So yeah, we like shut everything down, canceled all the shit that we had booked, and we had all this time, and we had just wrapped up a few projects, so we had some extra money that we were sitting on, and so we decided that it was time that we finally build out the control room that we had plans drawn up for like 4 years ago.
Looks gorgeous.
Thank you. So yeah, we took a few months and just like fucking hammered it out. I mean, there's plenty of shit that's not right with it, but it works.
Good. That's the vibe too, man. Is like the DIY thing. Like you build up what you got to build yourself. Just do it, man.
Right. So yeah, we put the control room in, and now that we like have this control room that works pretty well, we just haven't been using the big room nearly as much. Cause it's like, we'll use it for like drums or for like a thing. It's like, how often are we cutting drums? It's like, if we could be doing it every day, I would love that. But like, we're not in a big market to support.
And I think there's a point to be made there off of that about just popularity of certain styles of music, and it's weird. I do think organic instruments are coming back. So, knock on wood.
I don't know.
There will be auto-tune is going away and synthesizers are going away. I'm sorry, that's just old dad boomerisms coming out of me, I guess. I don't know.
Musicianship, right? So it's just one of those things. We had this big beautiful room that we've put all this time and energy into, and it wasn't getting used, and at the same time our rent got fucking jacked up, so we're like, okay, we've got to do something here, because it's either, we even toyed with subletting it out to another business. We had a bunch of different companies we were talking to, and we were just like, what, we can't give this room up, because it's like every once in a while, like this past weekend, having that drum session in with Keenan Lipton, is like, we got to have that fucking room, like, that's why we fucking grabbed this place. So yeah, we just came up with the idea to like, let's do like a rehearsal co-op timeshare thing.
Sure.
Because we've been hearing from I don't know how many different bands over the past year and a half that like there's no rehearsal spaces, and there aren't. I mean, Rochester's a good show for rehearsal spaces. It's starting to get better with what Brad's doing over at Dutch and all that, but still not big, comfortable spaces. So like, let's come up with something that's like priced right, that works for people that are just really need a space. Let's put a backline together so it's super simple. We've got like some storage options if people want to keep gear like on site. So
yeah, that's great. It all sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the other part of this whole thing running a studio is like, I love entrepreneurship, and I love scheming and coming up with ideas, and that's just me, We've been working on buying the building for the last few years. It looks like we're finally going to be able to to close on it this year because we've got the money to do it, and we think we've got the financing lined up. So that'll be a game changer.
Look at this! All right, making moves. Yeah. Well, let's try to end it on that wonderful high note. I'll let you get back to your baby. Thank you so much for taking the time out with us, Josh Pettinger.
Pettinger.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been the Instigator Hour. All right. I'll put your socials up here too. So everyone can find you. Wicked Squid Studios. Go submit your songs for them to review every Friday at noon. And man, take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ren. Appreciate it, bro. All right.
The Instigator Hour.